Welcome to the Thriving Farmer Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Kilpatrick. Our mission is to inspire, educate, and celebrate sustainable farming. We believe that you can build a profitable, sustainable farm that gives you true farm freedom. Join us as we talk to farmers, innovators, educators, and entrepreneurs to glean their top takeaways in business and life. Hey, Thriving Farmers. Today we are diving into the world of agritourism with my guest, Megan Neubauer of Pure Land Farm in McKinney, Texas. From a background in biology and biotech to pioneering pick-your-own farming, Megan's journey offers invaluable insights into transforming local agriculture into a profitable, community-driven experience. Megan, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So how did you get started in the world of farming?
Well, it was back in 2012, and I was looking for a change. I was working in scientific research, actually managing a pediatric oncology research lab at UT Southwestern Medical Center down here in Dallas. And my dad had recently retired from 40 years in petroleum engineering. And more than anything, we wanted something to do together. And we really wanted something that would let us invest in land. Because DFW, the county that we're in, Collin County, is one of the fastest growing counties in the country. And it seemed like a good idea at the time. It has proven to be a great idea to have the land. But we wanted to see what we could do with it also. We've always been into food, always been into gardening, cooking. We're just one of those families that's kind of food obsessed. So we said, let's see if we can grow food out here and make a living.
All right. So that's what you started in 2012. And then let's talk through those first couple of years. What was it like?
Rough. So we started off at the farmers markets. And, when you're first starting out, the biggest hurdle is growing, right? Figuring out how to grow. I know that everybody complains that their particular area is especially difficult to grow in, but it might be true for us. I don't know. North Texas is real tricky. You kind of have a very short spring, kind of a long fall, extremely hot summer, and a winter that does get to freezing several times, right? So it really took us a while, not just in the learning how to grow stuff, but getting some fertility into this old pasture that nothing had been grown on in, decades. So that was the biggest challenge for the first couple of years. We would just go to farmers markets. We sold at about half a dozen over the first few years. And we just really struggled to bring home any money because, we bought a tractor. So that's $600 a month, right?
Yes.
To pay your note on that. Obviously the land and equipment, when you're starting out, you've got to buy everything, right? Up front, all the implements and all of that. So we just were never really able to take anything home. And it wasn't what I envisioned. So I had my daughter in 2014, and just having her and kind of stepping back and thinking like something really has to change dramatically for us to be able to do this and have it financially support us. We never wanted to do it as a hobby. It was a business. And if we couldn't figure out how two people working full time at it couldn't make enough money, but that was what we were facing.
Well, you're also in a very challenging part of the country to do vegetable farming as well.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah. Texas is hot, dry. You get lots of storms. And as you said, you've got the freezing and then there's the boiling hot summer. So, yeah.
Yeah. When it rains, it's going to rain 6 inches in an hour and a half, and it's not going to rain again for 4 months. Right. So it's very tricky.
All right. So you're doing farmers markets. And at that point, what crops were you growing?
Well, we tried to grow kind of everything at first, which I think a lot of market gardeners do, right? We tried, everything from corn to strawberries to onions and garlic and carrots. And we tried to just have as wide, hoping lightning would strike somewhere. And that would be the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow.
Yeah.
So we were really trying to grow as much as we could. And over time, we have really pared that all the way back to just 12 or 13 crops now.
All right. And so talk to me about when did you guys discover Upick?
As we were coming out, as I was coming back to the farm full time, my daughter was kind of reaching preschool age, a couple years old. We wanted to get her into a little preschool to start meeting other kids and doing all of that. We really wanted to figure out what could we put. We had kind of shrunk the size of the farm. We planted way too much at first. And I feel like a lot of farmers make this mistake as well. We planted way more than we could take care of because we're like, more plants, more money, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we had kind of shrunk it back to what we knew we could sell at a market on the weekend or at two markets at the peak, right? So Dad would go to one market, I would go to the other. We never wanted to be bigger than the two of us. It still doesn't make sense to me when, and I know farms that do it, but it doesn't make sense to us to not be able to pay ourselves, but hire someone else. And I know that then you could grow more, but it just doesn't make sense to us. We always wanted to keep it really small. And if it didn't work for the two of us, then it wouldn't work at all. So we planted some blackberries, and they're nice, improved, thornless, upright blackberries, big fat berries. Planted them, and Brambles are a long game. So a year goes by and we're like, oh, these are actually really nice. They're relatively low maintenance and they sold pretty well. What we could do is plant a lot of them and let people come out and pick them. And then we'll take everything else to the market, is what we figured. And there really weren't any Upicks nearby, nothing as close to, we're only 30 miles north of downtown Dallas. So it's basically suburbs the entire way now between Dallas and us.
Yes.
So we knew we'd be the closest. So we planted about 800 canes and decided that we would open that to Upick the next year. And it was, the first day, the first people who came in and saw the other crops were like, oh my gosh, are those carrots? When do we get to pick that? Are those tomatoes? When are those ready? When do we get to pick those? When do we get to pick those? About everything else. And we were like, oh, just didn't occur to me you'd want to pick everything.
Yeah.
So we really took a step back and said, okay, this is what my customer is asking for very clearly. So, but it's a very different growing technique, a very different crop plan for Upick than for trying to take Four Seasons to the farmer's market. So that winter, we really just kind of shut everything down, cover cropped everything, figured out where we thought our picking season could be and what we could grow in that open picking season window, and planned it and went for it the next year. And we've just kind of built on it and refined it every year since.
Yeah. So, okay. So you did the blackberries and you started. And so talk to us a little bit about, for someone that's thinking about the Upick, how is your crop plan different for that?
What works for us, what we have developed, is that the crops that we want to have available all need to be within what we call like our picking season window. So that's when you're actually going to be open to guests. For us, in our climate, that is mid-May through mid-July. So whatever I can grow that's in demand and makes enough money in that window that can be ready to harvest in that window, I will try. So anything that is earlier than that harvest window or later than that harvest window, we dropped. So you kind of have to work backwards and find varieties that work, because a wide enough, you don't have to grow everything, and people don't want everything. But you do have to, if you're not going to be a specialty crop like strawberries, like blackberries, peaches, these kinds of things that will get people to come out all by themselves, right? I don't know that you could have a Upick bell pepper farm. But for a diversified Upick, you want to present a wide enough variety that it's going to be worth it and appealing to people to come out. So we just kind of judge the crops that we grow well and that are in demand and that make enough money. And those are the ones that we plant. They have to be ready at the right time.
Gotcha. Because if you have like radishes ready in February, you don't want people coming out just for radishes. That probably won't be effective and it'll just be a waste of your time.
Right. And I mean, the biggest thing to me is that those radishes are taking up space that would have been better planted with tomatoes or something that would have been ready later, but make much more per foot. Right. So you want to plant the entire farm is planted at once, which is wild if you're a kind of 4-season market gardener. It was very stressful to us to think about the sheer volume of food that was going to be ready all at once. And there is no plan B. We only Upick.
Yeah.
So it's a major mentality change to go from, okay, I got to get this crop out, put the cover in over there, got to pull these rows over here for that. No, it's all in. We are done planting for the year at last frost.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So then with that, so people come out and when people come out for picking, do they pick a whole bunch of things typically at once? What's the average person coming out and experiencing?
Our average transaction is a little under $50, which is up from about $5 at the farmer's market. And we don't really put any parameters on it. So people can and do pick a single cherry tomato or 500 cherry tomatoes. I've rung up 20-pound cherry tomato picks, right? You just really kind of never know, but it shakes out to around $50. Generally, they pick a diversified basket. So they've got 6, 7, 8 things, depending on whatever is ready. Most of the time, we've found that people will pick things even if they don't know what they are, right? Because they're there, they want to fully experience what you have. They'll come up to the checkout and they'll hold up a beet and they're like, what is this? And what do I do with it? You know,
and I just picked it.
I just picked it. You have bought it. Congratulations. Let me tell you how to cook it, and please enjoy it and come back and get another.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So then with that, do you charge like a flat rate for all your crops, or every crop a different price per pound?
Every crop is a different price per pound. And we have gone back and forth and really kicked the tires on, because I know that there are Upicks that you get a bucket and it's $3 a pound for whatever you chuck in it, right? But ultimately, we have fallen on wanting to keep the crops separate, even though it does. The only downside is it slows you down at checkout, right?
Correct. Yeah.
But what we gain from keeping the crops separate with their own prices is really, really precise production data. So I can just pull a QuickBooks report when everybody leaves that tells me to the 100th place how many pounds of cherry tomatoes were picked, squash, whatever, right? And that has been more valuable to us than speeding up the checkout. So yeah, it is a separate price, and then we charge admission. It's $5 a head to get in as well.
Okay. All right. So like, what do you charge for tomatoes?
Tomatoes are $3 a pound, 4 for cherries. Really, all of our pricing is aligned with what we used to charge at the farmer's market, and kind of what, that has risen with everyone else's farmer's market prices.
But they are coming to you and they are picking the product.
Correct. They're actually paying me to pick the product.
Correct. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Even
better.
Better.
Yes. All right. So let's move a little bit into logistics of this, because obviously I think for a lot of people, this may feel overwhelming. I'm assuming you have to have parking.
Yes. So the property is 28 acres, but we use about an acre for parking and for tents. And then we have about 2 acres of annuals under production, and between 2 and 3 acres of blackberries. So an acre is suitable for the parking. The thing that really has made the difference for us, and I encourage people to do, is use some kind of booking system, essentially a ticketing system. So what we do is we target what we think is the right number of people based on the amount of produce ready to harvest. And we've just gained that over years of experience at this point, right? And you're never going to get it perfect, but we really want to judge our crop mix, what we call our crop mix, so that the first picker of the day and the last picker of the day have the same variety available to them to pick from, but that you're pretty picked out at the end of the day. So nobody wants to get there, be the last person walking in the gate, and there's only cherry tomatoes left, and there's no zucchini, and there's no cucumbers, and there's no blackberries and anything else, right?
Yes.
So we try very hard to work our crop mix into producing relative quantities to each other that we just built up over time, that we know this is how many zucchinis plants it's going to take for them to get picked out at the same time. The cherry tomatoes get picked out at the same time. The cucumbers get picked out, and so on.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So you vary the amount of your planting based on, over the years, what you've developed as your particular mix.
Yes.
Okay, very good.
Because that's what makes a good experience.
Yeah.
Ultimately.
So let's say with berries, do you offer containers for them to pick in, like pints or quarts, or how does that work?
So we do offer containers. What we have found works well with blackberries, because they're among the tougher of the berries, I would say, is we'll do a plastic or compostable kind of bag liner inside a berry pail. And that way, they open it like a trash bag, basically inside their little berry pail. And when they come up to checkout, we can just lift the bag out onto the scale. And they don't have to get handled any more than that. But for the vegetables, we use basic plastic slatted double-handled grocery baskets like you get at the grocery store. And that works great for dirt to fall right through, as long as the slats aren't so wide that like something too small can get through. They really work well.
And okay, so and then you offer $5 to get in, and I'm just trying to think what other details here. And it looks like to me like you stake up most of your crops, so there's a good picking experience.
Yes, we do. Anywhere that we can make it easy for people to pick, you're going to have more picked, right? So like we had a year where we put in a bunch of tomatoes that we only grow determinate tomatoes because I want that crop to come off close together, right? I want them all at once.
Yes.
We had a year where we planted some that we allowed to sprawl, and then others that we caged up, and people are just not comfortable digging, right? When they can just see a tomato and reach in and grab it.
Yeah.
So we really want to make the picking experience as easy as possible. What we do is we will walk through the field and have a general sense of how many people we can take based on how fast things are growing, how fast things are ripening. And we'll say, okay, we can take 80 people per hour. So we'll use a booking app to put 80 spots on our website, and anyone can book them. For the weekend, they sell out really quickly. So we'll actually put like an opening time. Dad says we're like the Taylor Swift of Upick farming, because we have to put an opening time for the tickets to go, and they sell within 10 or 20 seconds. And people can book them there. And then we just use the back end of the app for check-in. So when people actually arrive at the farm, they check in with my greeter by name. She ticks them off in the back end of the app, and we can see exactly how many people have arrived for the hour, how many we have to go, and so on.
Yeah.
So we only do our picks. They're always 3 hours long, and they're always in the morning because it's just too hot in Texas. So we'll do either 8, 9, 10 a.m. or 9, 10, 11 a.m. People do not have to leave after an hour, but generally people are done after about an hour. So my parking lot is really sized for that. Correct. I know how many people I'm expecting. I don't need fields and fields of parking, because I know I should only have 35 cars every hour.
Correct. Gotcha. Yeah. Corinna, one of the things you talk about is a gateway offer. Now, I know what ours is on our brand, but go ahead and share what that is.
Well, I'll tell you, when we first started our farm business years ago, our gateway into our business was our very expensive $500 CSA share. And that was a bad idea. We've learned the hard way that you can't ask someone to make their very first transaction be something that's super high ticket like that. And over the years, we've realized we want to remove the friction, right? We want to make it as easy as possible for someone to take that first step with us and buy from our farm. And so now what we tell people is, hey, just shop from our online store and buy our carrots, right? So usually the gateway offer is something that everyone is going to love. It's a classic, it's a favorite. If you're like a meat farmer, it's probably ground beef. Like, what's the thing that's an easy sell? And something changes in the mind of the customer the very first time they spend money with you. When they shift from just watching you on your social media or being on your list, and now they actually buy from you, it's a lot easier to buy again after they've purchased the first time. So we want to make that first offer be really, really accessible. So thinking through, what is my gateway offer, right? Where's the obvious place that people should start with my brand? And then we can issue them the next offer, and then the next one, and what makes, sense to do next, and so forth.
And in our business, that is our strawberries. People come from all over the state. Actually, we had some people from Cleveland this year actually come to for our strawberries. And that's a way for them to get started with buying from us for a low dollar. Although, even though our strawberries are a lot more expensive than other local ones, which I do think is important because I do think it sets us apart. It does give us that little bit of not everyone's going to come. So we're still going to try to qualify that customer a little bit.
Yeah. And then you can reach out to them because you probably capture their email address too, right? Then you can reach out to them and say, well, here's the next thing that we have. If you were interested in this, I think you'll be interested in this. And it's a lot easier to just move them up your product ladder. A lot of farmers don't realize, but where you make your money in your business is often not on the very first thing you sell them, but on the lifetime value of your customer, right? On all the other things they come back and buy again. And so we want to make sure that we have things in our product suite kind of in an order of operations so that we give them this gateway first, and then we have things to follow up behind.
Absolutely.
If you want more farm marketing tips like this, check out my top rated weekly show, the My Digital Farmer podcast. I teach marketing concepts and interview lots of farmers to find out what's working and not working in farm marketing to help you find more customers, increase your sales, and build a strong brand for your farm. Look for the My Digital Farmer podcast on your favorite podcast app.
And then what software do you use? Which specific one do you like?
I have been through so many, and the one by far that fits my needs the best is called Ticket Tailor. They're actually out of the UK.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's not the cheapest one, but it is super functional. They've even built features for us. They've been really great to work with. So we love Ticket Tailor.
Yes, they did a feature that we were looking for, which was bulk refunds. Because sometimes that you literally, yes, we had a couple of days which the quality of the berries wasn't great enough, so we just refunded that day's tickets, and I do it manually every single one at a time. And so
brutal.
So they built out the feature where we could just bulk, the entire hour at once.
Yes, the feature they built for us was a membership. So
I saw that.
Yes, we sell season passes now, which has been an amazing addition. So now all of our super fans, and what was happening is that the people that were used to coming to the farm, really 2020 is kind of when the farm blew up.
Yeah.
Because it was COVID. It happened to be a good growing season, which helped. But there was nothing to do. Everything was closed, and it was the safest possible thing to do is be outside, and we made sure people stay, wore masks at checkout and all that. But we told everybody there's 28 acres spread out. You could stay 6 feet apart.
Yes.
And what was happening is that our regulars were getting beaten to tickets by everybody else, right? So we created this season pass that I just kind of pre-sold, under the table to my regulars that allows them to come anytime we're open. And we've built on that a little bit every year. We sold 300 this year. I'll sell 500 next year.
I think that's something we probably should do for our strawberry picking. Yeah, and I would probably only sell like a certain amount, because otherwise still the problem is, if all of them show up at once, then that could be a problem. Like if they all decide to show up on Saturday, that could be we only sell 3 days of tickets at a time. So okay, interesting.
Yes, we're very, very similar in that way. We only put our tickets on sale 3 or 4 or 5 days out. I'll put my next weekday tickets on sale before I'll put my weekend, right? Because I know my weekend will sell out, but I'll give myself a few more days. I'll put those Tuesday and Wednesday tickets on sale before I put the Saturday and Sunday preceding. But with the season pass, you're ahead of the game to mention that, because what we did is we tracked them. And that's something that Ticket Tailor and having the app has been great for too, because I could run a report every day, see how many season passes came and when. Right away, we noticed that Saturday morning first time slot was by far the most popular with the season passers. So we sell almost no Saturday tickets anymore. We sell very few, so that I prioritize access to my regulars. But I haven't found it's not a problem any other day. Any other day, the crop mix can bear additional season pass folks coming in. They pick better. Like season pass people are, they're familiar with your farm already. they're very low maintenance. I can't say enough about it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, those are the people you want out there.
Yes.
How do you deal with problem people?
So we really do not get very many. The problems I run into are generally of two kinds. Either the online problem people, who are the ones who could not get a spot.
Mm-hmm.
They're big mad that they couldn't get a spot before they filled up. And I just say I have made it as fair as I possibly can. If you try again, if you try a few times and you can't get, if it's your first time, then I say try again next weekend. But if you've tried a few times, I will let you sneak in if you're nice.
Yeah.
I'll put you on the list and let you in. If you're rude, then I'm just going to block you and move on. That's type 1. Type 2, the only problem that we really ever have had is people not feeling like there was enough of the one thing that they wanted to pick. Often that's blackberries, because you can't predict how hard the berries are going to be picked before the last hour of the pick arrives, right? We've had days where people have picked, there have been 10, 14 pound blackberry picks multiple times. And, somebody picking 8 people picking 14 pounds of berries each will really alter your berry load to the day when you're only having a couple hundred people. So when it gets to the end of the day and there is not enough of whatever the thing is that someone wanted, we will say, come back on us. And no admission. You don't need to book a spot. You don't need to do that fight again. Just come back, come anytime during the pick, and give it another try.
Okay, gotcha. So you've done that. Have you ever had people come out, pick product, and then kind of freak out that they picked so much?
It does happen. And I think it happens more because people are not buying grocery store quantities. It's such a different experience, right?
Yeah.
When somebody goes out into the field and picks, or has their kids with them, and they each pick a 3-pound zucchini.
Yes.
That's going to end up being a lot. Those are $2 a pound. That's going to end up being quite a lot of zucchini. It's not something that you can have a comparable experience with at the grocery store, right?
Yes.
So generally we try to avoid sticker shock in that way with, the average, we really try to communicate the average zucchini is like this big. Mm-hmm. It's 3 big cherry tomatoes, 3 big slicing tomatoes to a pound, a large onions, half a pound kind of thing, to try to set that expectation. Mm-hmm. And we post the prices everywhere, but I can count on one hand the number of times we've had to just say like, okay, thank you. You can just leave it and go.
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah, we had, I don't think as much this year and I find what we do is we now in our email that tells them, okay, you booked your ticket, here's what to expect. We now say you can fit approximately this many pounds, this many dollars in this container, this many pounds, this many dollars in this container. So they know when they get to the field, if I fill this container, this is how much I'm going to spend.
Exactly. So my grader, when she sends them down to the berry field, this basket holds 4 pounds. The berries are $7 a pound. This will be $28 if you fill it to the brim.
Boom. Okay. So it's clear. They can't mess that one up, hopefully.
It has been much less of a problem than we ever expected.
One thing we did this year, because we had got to a point in the year where the berry quality was pretty poor, but there were still berries out there. We actually did I forget what we called it, but what it was they picked 2 pounds for us. They got 1 pound for free.
Sure. Yeah. Almost a glean, but you're still getting some money.
Correct. Well, what we did is we were basically going after seconds, and we turn them into our slushies. So it doesn't matter to us the quality of them. But I think one family picked 100 pounds.
Oh my God.
Yes, it was.
You will get a couple. You will get a couple that will game it for sure.
Yeah. I mean, that meant that I think it was 2. So we got 60 pounds, and I forget how many quarts of puree that made, but it was a lot. It was a lot.
What we did at the end of the season when the berries were getting sunburnt was we kind of did season pass only. Because they understand they're going to pick around them. They still want the berries. They would rather we don't close completely. Right. Mm-hmm. We don't have a commercial kitchen. We don't do value added anything. We don't even have a building. We have nothing out there. Yeah. 100-year-old barn. So all our entire revenue is admission and food. So seconds and stuff, like we're just going to get what we get as long as we can get it. And whatever is, we're not salvaging really anything.
Gotcha. Yeah. What would you say your biggest marketing effective strategy is? Where's the focus on your marketing strategy?
Really, the only marketing, we do no paid marketing. The only marketing we do is social media. So I make sure that I'm posting daily to the Instagram and Facebook. I started a TikTok this year, got a few people from it. But we've really built relationships with people that are really very strong now. And some people have been coming since that first season 6 years ago. So we've seen, couples who used to come alone, and then a pregnant belly the next year, and then a little kid, and then a little kid and a pregnant belly the next year. We've really become a part of so many families. And they tell their friends, and it's really very much a community. There's only so many people that me and my dad can feed, right? Yeah. We don't need 1 million people. We do like between 5,000 and 7,500 people over an 8-week picking season. That's excluding, how often season passes come. That's like single use visits. So yeah. Building relationships and showing the best possible experience for word of mouth is, I think, more than anything, the best marketing that we have found.
And you actually said that about 24% of your season pass visitors never visited at all.
Isn't that wild? So, breakage is common in every industry, right? Like retail outlets love breakage because for a gift card that you've sold, you've gotten the money and you didn't have to hand over the goods. It's different for us because I want to sell a season pass to someone who is going to use that season pass to come and spend $50 with me every week. So that 24% is not going on the pre-sale list next year.
Interesting.
So they're going to have to fight everyone else for that. Because now every year and then I have my super user season passes too. We have one family who came out like 15 times. It's just ridiculous. They're teachers, so they were out for the summer, and it was just what they did almost every day. But we can identify those super users who are coming 3, 4, 5 times in the summer plus, and really put our energy into making bonds with them. Right. Relational bonds, getting to know everybody's names, faces, kids' names, and making them feel like they're part of the farm and they're part of the family.
Absolutely. If you could go back and start the farm over again, what would you do differently from the start?
I would not have spent as much time at farmers markets. I'll tell you that. I would not. And it's interesting because if we had started straight into pick your own, I don't know that we would have done everything the same way that we are now. We've done everything we've done as cheaply and not gone into debt, right? Like when we were market gardening, we were always like, man, we need a walk-in cooler. We need a wash and pack. We need, all of this stuff that we do not need for pick your own. We don't have any of that. We have tents and scales. Like you just really, the barrier to entry as far as cost is very low. So I would not have spent so much time at the farmer's market. And I think I probably would have made some bad decisions in terms of buildings and, big debt we would have taken on. But all the farmers that I talk to now, we've really been trying to encourage people to, add some of this. Just try a little, try a little Upick and see how it goes. But there are things that you have to have. You have to be close to town. You really do.
So I think that's one of the key points. You can't be in the middle of rural Utah and expect, you get the visits you do. You're within what is, I think the Metroplex where you are is what now, 13 million people?
Oh yeah. Yes. Yeah. McKinney alone is 200,000, and it's building around us by the second. Like one of the top 10 fastest growing counties in America is where the farm is.
Okay. Yeah. So you've got a lot of people coming to you. Yeah, I think the Dayton, Cincinnati Metroplex is probably over 1 million between the two. I know we did the numbers. We have 1 million people within 45 minutes of us.
Oh, I think that's plenty.
Yeah. Yeah. And for strawberries, it has been. I mean, it's interesting when I look at other things, there's always just some, like we did Upick beans and you get a handful of people.
Right. It can't just be beans.
Yes, it's got to be. I think that the success you're having is there's fruit. And I think fruit is one of those things that people will always come for. So we now have, blackberries, raspberries, and blueberries planted. And so we'll start bringing those online this coming year. And then hopefully they can do, we may do some other Upick crops too. But I think, our goal is the store, and we're adding a bakery and kitchen. So that's going to be pretty busy as well. But
I would encourage you to look at carrots, because carrots are what are the most popular as far as, a little kid is out in the field and when they pull a carrot out, the iPhone comes out immediately. Okay. Immediately. So Mom is taking a picture of that, and that's going on Instagram. She's going to tag the farm, and that's just free marketing for me.
It's the carrot. Do you do any Upick potatoes?
No other root veg. Well, beets, but we do those under plastic mulch, multi-planted.
Yeah, because the only reason I say potatoes is that I feel is one of the most fun things to pick ever.
Yes.
You get basically you get gold rolling out of the ground. But I can see the carrots too. So do you pre-loosen the soil for the carrots, or do you hand them a pitchfork, or how does that work?
We have had years where we had to pre-loosen, but the last couple of years, I think we have it finally kind of dialed in. I should knock on wood, because next year it won't be that way, to where they, we used a rain flow better, right? Plastic mulch layer. So it's in a nice loosened bed. And now we have enough organic matter in the soil that they will, and I figured out how to not sow them quite as thick as my instinct is, to where they do come out pretty easily.
So they're spaced a little further. Yeah. Spaced a little further apart, good loose soil. Yeah.
I broadcast just by feel.
Yeah, we have an undercutter, so I think we could probably actually lift, and you can undercut deep enough that you still kind of it's almost like banking them for storage, but it's easy to pull tops. So I think we probably could do that pretty easily. Yeah, I'll have to try that. I mean, carrots is a pretty big crop for us, and I think you're right. People would just go nuts.
Oh, people love it.
Yeah.
Yes, and as long as you keep them pretty weed free. Because they've got to be able to tell what thing to pull, because they won't stay there long. If they can't tell what's grass and what's a carrot top, they won't stay there long. They'll move on.
They get frustrated and away they go. All right. Well, what would you say to someone who's maybe thinking about getting into farming, or who is, maybe frustrated and looking for something, a little bit of a change?
I would say to definitely, if you're in close to town, I would say within, 30 miles or so seems to be the sweet spot, 30 to 40 miles. And you really like people, because there's a lot of people management, at least the way that we do it. You're solely responsible for hundreds of people's fun outing, right? So you have to really care that they have a good time and want to show them a good time. And Dad and I are both, deeply hospitable in that way, that we want people to have a good time with us. Then I would highly encourage them to go the pick your own direction. And there are not a lot of resources out there on how to do it, which is why I wrote the book. Yes. So that it's somewhere for people to be able to start. Because I didn't want to write it. I wanted to buy this book 6 years ago, because it is so different from the mentality of that 4-season market gardener. And over presentations and stuff over the last couple of years, going through the process of writing the book, I've talked to so many farmers who, and a lot of them are women, and they say that agritourism is kind of a women's, more of the ladies field, but this is very much farming. The money that we make is directly tied to the yield that we're getting out of the ground. We're very much farming first. I would talk to a lot of farmers at conferences and stuff after I give a presentation, and they'd say, this is really exciting to me, because I'm stuck. I can't figure out how to make enough money doing this. I'm doing the CSA. I'm doing the farmer's market. I'm going to 3 farmer's markets, whatever. I can't make it work. And that's exactly where Dad and I were before we found and figured out how to do this. I mean, we're making 3 and 4 times what we ever made at farmers markets. And we're doing it, we're open to the public for about 2 months. And it's full-time farming for about 5 months for the 2 of us.
And then beyond that, you're just taking off.
We do other stuff. I think it's particularly well suited for, you could farm all year round. I mean, I'm sure you could Upick into the fall. For us in Texas, it was hot until like last week. Okay. So I don't trust that we'll be able to get people out just the way our school year falls and the way our seasons work. If you're somewhere that has a more hospitable climate, I think it might be better suited. But for us, I manage a nonprofit. That gives me all the space I need in the summer to do this. Dad is retired, so he's doing projects and he's going to be at the farm pretty much no matter what. But I won't go back out there aside from a couple of days here and there again until end of February.
Okay.
So it's well suited for somebody who has other skills and likes to do like grant writing, whatever, anybody who could do other things.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now remind us about the book. We've mentioned it, but tell us about the name of the book, when it's coming out, where can people buy it?
So the book is called Pick Your Own Farming, Free Yourself from Farmers Markets and Join the Agritourism Revolution. And it was graciously published by Acres USA. It's up for pre-order now. I believe it's out on December 4th. And I'll be signing books at the EcoAg conference up in Covington the first week of December. But you can go to the website on Acres there and click on the Acres USA published authors. And it's a really practical guide. I wanted it to be very practical because you read a lot of books about farming that are very inspirational, but then you want to know how exactly can I put this into use today on my farm. So it's got a little bit of agritourism, theory, but then it's very practical nuts and bolts on how we do what we do at Pure Land.
Yeah, I mean, even to the point you've got sample emails and exactly what you tell people, which is super helpful.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the conference you said December that's going to be up there at the EcoAg conference?
Yes. EcoAg.
And that literally is like 45 minutes from us.
Oh, are you going?
I typically don't. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I'm pretty busy that week. But hey, when you're in town, shoot me a text or something and we should catch up.
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'd love to hang out. Or bring you out to the farm and show you what we got going on up here.
Yeah, I didn't realize you were doing so much Upick.
Yeah, and we actually just picked up 7 acres. So we're leasing. So it's going to be a little bit challenging with the aspect of we will be eventually moving our strawberries over there, which means that we will be doing Upick not near our store, which I'm a little hesitant about because that, again, is a big reason why people, they spend the money with us because 50% of our strawberry season sales are not strawberries. But I think if in the field, we give samples of strawberry slushies, give samples of strawberry shortcake and say, you have to go back to the farm to actually get this stuff. I think that should drive a majority of the people back.
Yes, I think you can make that work.
Yeah. So we'll have to get creative about that, but I'm more than confident that we can make it work. Well, hey, I really appreciate you coming on today, Megan, and thanks so much for hanging out, sharing your story. Excited about your book coming out. I will definitely be grabbing myself a copy because I'm sure there are going to be some tricks and tips that I will gain from that. And yeah, thanks so much for coming on again.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So there you have it, another episode in the books. So I'd love if you would hop on over to iTunes and leave us a rating and a review. Those mean everything to us. We love to hear what you're thinking. If you have a podcast guest that you can recommend, please pop on over to the Thriving Farmer Podcast website and leave us a review. That's thrivingfarmerpodcast.com.